Hello, it is Cliff Schecter's Blue Amp live stream on the Cliff's Edge channel on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you may have noticed I'm not Cliff Schechter, but I play him on TV. I'm Matt Robeson of the Worth Knowing Substack. I usually host the live stream on all of these channels, all these platforms on Tuesdays. Cliff usually hosts the show on Wednesdays, but Cliff is taking a well-deserved week off with his family in an undisclosed location. The major reason I don't want to disclose the location is that President Trump would immediately promise to set a retaliatory tariff on it. Then he'd backtrack. Then he'd announce that he'd made a deal. Then it would turn out that there wasn't really a deal. Then we'd all just be a lot more confused. And that's actually really the theme that I wanted to talk about today with a really outstanding guest. I'm excited. I'm going to bring him on in just a minute. I don't want to say out loud quite yet who it is. I want to tease it. Although, I mean, I guess if you look at the YouTube show notes, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out who it is. But it's someone you may already know. You may already tune into. I hope you already tune into. You'll definitely know based on his background. Okay, he's lurking backstage. We'll get to him in a second. But what we want to talk about as our lead-off topic today, and I don't know where this is all going to go, is the cost of chaos. Because as we noted in the title for today's show, right now, two members, and I'd argue two of the most important members of Donald Trump's cabinet are on the hot seat in MAGA world, with the MAGA people drawing knives for them. And the major reason for it is really all down to Donald Trump and his deep pathology and the way he creates confusion all around him, which unfortunately has a major impact on all of us. Now, to see what I mean, let's talk about, just as a jumping off point, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Now, last week, the Defense Department announced that a large shipment of weapons, which had already been funded by the Biden administration, would not be sent to Ukraine. The weapons, some of which were already sitting right across the border in Poland, included artillery shells, missiles, rockets, and most important, interceptors for Patriot air defense systems. This is the ammunition that Ukrainians need to protect themselves from the absolutely awful war crime level of bombardment of civilians that Vladimir Putin has unleashed on them, especially in recent weeks. But then a weird thing happened. Donald Trump got on the phone for a call with Putin, and Putin basically told Trump to sod off. Trump's report on the call to reporters was merely, "I didn't make any progress with him at all today." Oh boy, I'm so bad at that. All right, I'm going to work on it. And suddenly on Monday, with Pete Hegseth sitting right beside him, live on camera, Trump stomped all over his own defense secretary and announced that we would indeed be sending those weapons to Ukraine. And this slapdown of his own defense secretary was no mistake. This was premeditated. This wasn't just bad luck to be asked about it while they were sitting live in front of reporters together. It was a hit. You know that because last week, Trump also had a call with Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. And afterward, Zelensky was clearly elated. He said this was probably the best conversation he'd had in all this time. Zelensky knew what was coming. Trump knew what was coming. Hegseth did not know what was coming. But there's more backstory here because apparently Hegseth made this decision based on an idea given to him by the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, a guy named Elbridge Colby. I didn't know they still named people Elbridge, but anyway. He's a longstanding advocate of scaling back the U.S. commitment in Ukraine and shifting weapons and resources to the Pacific region to counter China, according to NBC News. He gave Hegseth the idea that if we sent the stockpile of weapons to Ukraine, the U.S. would be low on its own supply, but it turns out that was total bullshit. Congressman Adam Smith, the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, not the economic theorist, told NBC News, quote, "We are not at any lower point stockpile-wise than we've been in the 3.5 years of Ukraine conflict." And on top of everything, the Hegseth announcement apparently totally blindsided the White House. So this is one example of the cost of chaos because there's no rational, coherent policy here. There's no decision maker here who is in control of his senses. The war in Ukraine is one of the most important global security issues of this decade. And who knows, it will perhaps turn out to be one of the most important global security issues of the 21st century. And we don't have a strategy on it. We just have an unending string of knee-jerk reactions based on where the eye of Sauron is currently being cast. That's why MAGA world is so pissed off right now, because they were sold a bill of goods last year that Trump stood for folding to Russia and pulling out of support for Ukraine in that war, support for our ally there. And MAGA people didn't vote for this. Just go on Twitter. Well, never go on Twitter, but go on Twitter if you want and look at the reaction. That's to say nothing of their fury about what's happening with Pam Bondi, or the fury that's going to happen when their electricity prices go up by $400 a year because of Trump's stupid budget bill, or as the prices for everything go up because of a stupid trade war. Really, the question of the day is, what's the end game of all this? So to talk about Hegseth, Bondi, tariffs, cost, chaos, and absolutely everything else, I am thrilled to welcome Fred Wellman, former executive Lincoln Project, and now an absolute star, a gobsmacking star on YouTube, where you can catch his really popular show. Fred, welcome.
Great to see you, brother. Thanks to be here. I love seeing you guys. Good. We haven't hung out in a long time, Matt. This is great.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, as the kids say. You and I have done this. You and Cliff have done this. For people joining us late, I am not Cliff Schechter. I play him on TV. Cliff and I, fun fact, go all the way back to high school. We used to be track stars together. He was actually a track star. I was sort of, I worked hard. So, you know, it's really fun, but you've been on my podcast many times before. And it's great to have you back. I mean, look, I do want to get into the cost of chaos. Just give me the thumbnail real quick, right up front. Your show. I mean, it's a runaway hit. You're like per show.
Got a couple. You know, I've got On Democracy with FP Wellman that appears on the Midas Touch Network every Friday night. Does really well there. I love being on the Midas Touch Network. I can't believe I've been on Midas Touch for 3 years now, which is incredible. Doing very well there. And then I got my new show. Well, new now. It's 6 months. We do call it Too Late to Cancel. Sunday morning live right on the On Democracy channels on my Substack, fpwellman.substack.com. And we're doing great. We have a great community building, a lot of audience, just talk to a lot of things. It's an exciting time to talk about things.
It absolutely is. We are living through the Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
I love
We're living through interesting times. For you, the interesting stuff is good. For the rest of us, not so good. Not so ideal. And, you know, look, again, this was sort of my summary theme is the cost of chaos. Let's talk Hegseth first. I mean, you're a veteran. You know military, you know the Pentagon, you know how this operates. I mean, what goes through your mind when you see all of this playing out, the commander-in-chief sitting next to and just smacking down his own defense secretary over a core piece of U.S. military defense, national security policy, in which he's veering wildly from one position to another based on who knows what? What's your reaction to that as a veteran, as a military policy expert?
Well, I honestly, I'm not a big fan of Pete Hegseth. I've actually known her personally for years. I was against his nomination in the first place. I've been very hard on him with all the ridiculous things, from Signalgate to the ridiculous focus on DEI to the idea that they're actually taking books out of the schools for DoD children. I mean, it's just a ridiculous, stupid line of bad management. You know, the thing is, Pete Hegseth is the perfect example of a guy who's promoted well ahead of his abilities and well ahead of his knowledge. I mean, the guy, he never even the largest military operation he ever led or group was a platoon, which I had 3 of when I was 24. Okay. You know, I led a platoon in Korea, 2 platoons, and, you know, I led a platoon in Desert Storm. You know, that's he never commanded a company. He never commanded a battalion. He left as a major. He's so far ahead of his abilities and his experience. And it shows every day. It's a classic situation where he is constantly doing the simplest things. This obsession with working out with the troops, the obsession with grooming standards, the obsession with DEI. None of these are the job of the Secretary of Defense. So this is what happens when you've got a guy who knows certain things. I do push-ups. And so you've got a situation where you've got a person who's supposed to be leading the largest department of our government, who's so far well beyond his knowledge and his capability. And that translates into what we saw this week. An undersecretary has an idea. He executes it, forgets to tell like the rest of the United States government. I guess there wasn't a signal chat for that, shockingly. And, you know, I mean, if you read the articles, Marco Rubio didn't know, who's the national security advisor. Among his many hats, I think Is Marco Rubio running the Lincoln Center? I don't even know who's running anything. Kennedy Center. I don't know who's running. But Marco Rubio. I know he's National Security Advisor and he's Secretary of State. I think he cleans up the Pentagon basement too. And so he hadn't told any of them. And so Kellogg, who's the special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, didn't know. And so you get a situation where, and then you got a president who has no idea what the F is going on in his government. Okay. Trump doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, nobody knows. So he gets blindsided by a reporter saying, hey, what's up with that? And he comes up with, well, no, we're putting him back in. And there's Hegseth sitting there looking like a fool because he is a fool. I mean, the great thing about Hegseth looking like a fool is that's his natural state. I mean, he has resting idiot face, and it is really, it's just the perfect icing on the cake for everything this guy is about. He's completely incapable of doing this job.
It's a really interesting exercise, and I'm going to go somewhere with this. I promise. It's an exercise in almost Kremlinology. You and I are of a vintage where we remember during the Cold War, there was an entire section of our national security apparatus dedicated to Kremlinology. They were experts on how things operated inside the Kremlin, trying to figure out what Russia policy was going to be, kind of reading the signals. Condoleezza Rice, that's where she comes out of.
Right.
That was her whole claim to fame. And it's
titans of our history.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's disquieting to me to pick there's a euphemism for you, that we now have to engage in an exercise in Kremlinology in our own government to try to figure out, I raised the possibility that I think this was a premeditated hit. I think that Zelensky knew that this was going to be reversed. That's why he was so elated last week. I think that Trump knew. I don't think he was blindsided by this. I think he was raring to go. And the Potemkin village, the miming, the Pyongyang style. If you look at this clip, and I should have brought it up here from Pete Hegseth, as Donald Trump is just grinding him into the pavement. And Hegseth the whole time, as Trump is saying, yeah, Pete Hegseth, he's an idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about. We're definitely not doing that. But literally we're saying, we're definitely not doing that. Hegseth is going, I mean, it's yes, boss. Oh, please. May I have another?
He's in such thin ice, man. He's on such thin ice.
Humiliating.
Everybody knows he's on thin ice.
You go. He was
put in there. He was put in there by Don Jr. Don Jr. forced him in. The story of his nomination is Susie Wiles took a brief vacation during the transition. And while she was gone, Don Jr. and some of the bros got into Trump, said, oh man, Hegseth's the man. He's the troops will love him. It was this whole crap. And that's how he got the gig. He was never fit. He never fit in with what Susie Wiles had in mind. Rubio doesn't like him. Nobody likes him. And that's the thing. He's the story they like to put out is the troops love him. Well, I was a troop, and my son was a troop. My dad was a troop. And I went to Rangers. I would never serve in the Ranger Regiment. Let's be clear, but I did get my Ranger tab, and I'm Ranger qualified. I got it as a young captain, and I'll tell you, we used to call guys like him Skyline Rangers. And what that means is these are the guys, when you're traveling on high ground, they teach us in the mountain phase, you don't ever want to travel on the top of the mountain because you get skylighted. You get skylighted against the sky, and the enemy will see you. But then when you call somebody a Skyline Ranger, it means it's somebody who likes to stand out. Like he purposely stands out. And the reason it's such a slur is because those guys get you killed. Okay, if you got a Skyline Ranger, they're going to get everybody killed. And that's what Hegseth is. He wants to be in the spotlight. He wants to be about him and him only. That's what the whole bullshit workouts, the troops, and doing fucking push-ups when he should be in the office negotiating with foreign nations, and it is a classic case. So the troops see right through. You should see the comments I get. People send me messages like, "This guy is such a clown," and so they want to make it that all the vet bros think it's tough. And you very rarely see line troops going, "Oh yeah, I love him. He's the best," unless they're MAGA. And it's just he's a clown. He's way above his head.
I want to throw something at you. Tom Nichols in The Atlantic wrote up a whole piece where he was on a similar theme to the one we introduced at the top of the show, that this is sort of the cost of chaos, and that in the absence of a commander-in-chief with a strategy, this is what happens is it starts to become an adhocracy of lower level staff who are kind of driving the boat. Now, look, I'm a longtime congressional staffer. No one thinks more highly of the role of staff than I do. never ahead of the people who are actually elected in our democracy to make decisions, but you need to have a strong staff behind you. And one of the points that I've been making in my writing in Newsweek, this is one of the first things I wrote, maybe as some consolation to Democrats who were despondent after the election, was, look, it is going to catch up with Trump that he's bringing in not the A team, not the B team, not the C team. Like, he's down at like grade F meat, mostly circus animals, some filler. That's the level of people that he's brought in. And over time, you pay a tax for that. You pay a penalty for that in bad decisions, people running around, spending their time knifing one another. And I think that's essentially what you're seeing here. Now, I want to throw a highfalutin idea at you. You and I share something in common besides the fact that we can both do more push-ups than Pete Hegseth. I guarantee you right now, today, you can't? All right. Pull-ups, baby. You and I both attended the Kennedy School of Government. We both have a master's degree in public policy.
It's crazy, right?
So
name it that place.
Now, were you there? Did you have the privilege of overlapping with Graham Allison?
Yeah, I took his class. I was one of his.
So did I.
He described me in his speech as one of his best students ever. I'm very proud.
You did? Whoa! Wow!
In DC, I'm not kidding you, man. I don't try not to boast about this shit, but I almost cried when he said that in a setting at a DC seminar.
This is no joke.
I see you, Levine.
No joke. I'm reaching behind me. The reason I'm looking behind me is I want to pull his book off the shelf. Oh, here it is. Look at this. I got this. So, okay, folks, Graham Allison right here.
Yeah,
so professor of both of ours. This is the book, Essence of Decision. And I'm not going to nerd out on people. I promise. Oh, should I play my nerd media clip? Let's play the nerd media clip just for a second. Whenever we're going to nerd out for a second, I got to play this. So here you go.
Nerd alert! It was my understanding that there would be no math.
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
All right. Okay.
In a drunk first.
Professor Allison, who says that you are the brightest student he ever had, wrote this book, which is very famous in poli-sci circles. Essence of Decision. It's an analysis of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And basically, the Matt GPT version of this is, he says there are 3 models for how you can explain what a government is doing. And it's sort of the Kremlinology that we could apply to our own government now, which strangely has been overtaken by Kremlin-inspired forces. That's an interesting overlap. So there are these 3 models, okay? One is model 1. There's a unitary actor. There's one single brain that's kind of driving it, one strategy. The second model is, governments are made up of big bureaucracies, like the Pentagon. The only way that you can make all the trains run is you've got to have standard operating procedures, kind of like a manual for when this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do that. The third model is there are many power centers within a government. And what you see on the outside is the result of different actors within the government pursuing agendas, negotiating, being in conflict, and kind of coming out with a muddled mess compromise outcome. What I would submit to you is, and that was a long stem winder of a setup, is that what Tom Nichols is saying about the chaos and the fact that Trump is really not making any decisions here is because there's no model 1, there's no brain, there's no commander in chief making policy here. It's all devolving into model 3. It's all devolving into many different power bases. And this guy, Elbridge, what's his face? Some undersecretary somewhere who has an axe to grind against Ukraine, making decisions, and then telling Hegseth, who has he's been promoted way above his competence, per your point. Hegseth saying, all right, that sounds good to me, blindsiding his own White House. Is that what you see? I mean, do you think my argument holds water here based on, Professor Allison's blessing of you as a real expert on this, that what we're really seeing is these lower level incompetence from the F team making all kinds of crazy decisions, and Trump occasionally, veering in and seagull managing it, meaning you flap in, you crap all over everything, you fly away. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it's exactly. They can't even get me to work for. Like, they haven't. The people he fired because he thought they were spying on or whatever haven't been replaced. Hegseth has built, and it's the classic story when you've got somebody who's paranoid and doesn't trust anybody. He's closed the circle even tighter with more incompetent people. I mean, look who he's got for his comms team. Graham Allen. He's doing the rapid response. He's like a vet bro. You've got these other clowns, racist and clowns and anti-Semites circling. So you've got a very bunch of people in very high level positions who have no business being in the United States government, no matter making decisions for the United States government, who are surrounded and led by an incompetent fool. My hair looks amazing. Thank you, actually. It's curls. It's just curly today. Jesus.
For people who are listening.
And by the way, it's all real. This is my real hair.
So I have to give an explanation.
But we digress.
Some people
I digest.
You can listen to these live streams either through the YouTube app or I put them in the Beyond Politics podcast for people who want to go. They don't want to see the video. So Arizona Sunflower is in the chats, throwing a little bit of loving, I guess, questioning, supportive.
It's very curly today.
Threads hair, which looks amazing, dude.
I know.
It looks
it's
good.
all real. I mean,
we still got our hair,
60,
man.
I'll be 60 in 3 months. I'm just glad I got it.
Hey.
But we digressed.
Right.
It is truly, it's that situation. And the thing is, they don't even understand basic government. There's a national security system. There's a system of coordination because every decision you make at that level of government affects other levels of government. So I'm just teasing you. I love it. The thing about remember is that it's just. There's a system. No, there is every action has a reaction. It's somewhere else in the government. So when Eldridge Colby decides that he wants to stop these things, you didn't inform the guy who's got to stand with Zelensky. You didn't understand. You didn't inform the people who transport that stuff. The army soldiers out there, the weapons are sitting in Poland that need to be transported across the border. There's a long chain of actions that occur at that level of government that people just do not understand. You don't just write a memo or send a. They don't even write memos. I hear they just literally. I'm so not offended, sister. You can't imagine how little you're having to work a lot hard. I got Mike Levine in here telling me not to do push-ups. You got nothing. But we die. No, it's impossible to defend me. But we die. The thing is, they can't just understand the basic function of government. They think I've got all this power. I got this my own staff kissing my ass and driving me back and forth to work. They're drunk with power. They can just make unilateral decisions, and it's not going to affect the rest of the government, to include the president of the United States, who's nuts and isn't checked in at all. But the problem with the seagull president, as you described him, is he's going to flutter in and shit all over. I mean, the whole story about a seagull is you got to kick them to make them fly, and they shit on everything. And that's what Trump does. And so eventually he's going to flutter in and shit all over this. And that's exactly what he did to Hegseth yesterday and Eldridge Colby. Now, he doesn't like firing people because it makes him look bad in the press, but he's got a bunch of boobs and incompetents who have no idea what they're doing. Eldridge Colby's had nothing but I almost said something crude, a very strong passion for that we should only be focusing on China. And the thing is, Russia is the one screwing up a lot of Europe, and Europe's in danger. And in the end, those of us who serve especially understand that the Ukrainian fight is one for the soul of the world in many ways. I believe they're fighting for, no democracy is perfect, but they're fighting for their own freedom. They're fighting an existential battle to stay alive. And to discount that and just write it off. When we cut them off, they will get run over. And we've got Russia on the ropes. They are on the ropes. Whether you believe it or not, they are on the ropes. And so to see this kind of idiocy, and again, it's they don't even know they're supposed. The perfect example of what we're talking about, what you were referring to with Graham Allison. And by the way, Graham Allison, I joke about being, he's saying I was a star student. What an incredible compliment. And what this class is about, y'all, was, and you'll understand, this is a perfect example. I hear that sound. What the class is about, so you guys understand, was Graham Allison is this famous for nuclear proliferation. And what do? He had a class, one of the few classes you take at that graduate school, at the Harvard Kennedy School, where it's a huge auditorium. And he would put you in groups. And then each week he would give you 900 pages of reading. Remember, Matt? I mean, just an obscene amount of reading to do. And the assignment was, he would say, you guys, Colonel Wellman, I think I was Lieutenant Colonel then, Colonel Wellman, your job is to, you are the Assistant Secretary of Defense for X. And your job is to read all this shit and write a 2-page recommendation memo to the Secretary of Defense on Friday.
He let you have 2 pages?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
just
fuck,
guessing.
he only
Sometimes it's
gave me
2, sometimes it's
one.
1, right? Depending on the
Well,
assignment.
that's 'cause you were a
And,
lieutenant colonel.
there's nothing. And for if you're in government, if you've ever known, taking that and getting into a 1-page memo or 2-page memo is really effing hard. And it was a great class for me as I rose in the ranks, and then later as a CEO of a company, now as a political operative, is to take gobs of information and put it in a usable format for a senior executive to make a decision based on it. And look what you've got right now. You've got a bunch of incompetents who are just doing their own thing. And the Signal Gate is the perfect example of the failure of that when you look at what Graham Allison was preaching, right? These guys are so fucking late. I don't know. Do we cuss? I don't know. We just did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. These guys are so fucking lazy and so fucking incompetent that they can't do the basic national security process of using the official channels they're fucking assigned to. Instead, they're using Signal. Because it's super easy. Dude, I use Signal with like my bros that I go drinking with every Thursday night, okay? These clowns are so bad at their jobs, they can't even use the proper national security process. They just want to use Signal on their phone while they're sitting in the movies with their wife. That is a perfect example. When we saw the Signal Gate thing, for those of us who are national security professionals in a former life, you go, oh my God. I mean, these guys are effing clowns. They're just idiots. And when you read what they wrote, they're literally trying to make national security decisions about attacking another sovereign nation in Signal, like, yo, bro, I'm not down with the bombing. What about you? No, dude, it's slay. I mean, I swear to Christ, we were joking. My teenagers could put together a better fucking operation than this clown show using Signal. I mean, seriously, I guarantee that a 7-year-old that lives in this house could put together a better operation to buy beer and smuggle it into the house and at somebody else's house at a party without us knowing than the idiots who plan the Yemeni strikes. and it just
absolutely.
really pisses me. It's just, but it's funny you bring up Graham Allison because you look at the Titans that serve like Graham Allison, who is world famous for his analysis of nuclear proliferation and negotiating with countries. Another example you didn't bring up this week. Did you hear that Trump, he's done with the tariffs because it's just taken too long. Holy shit, dude. It takes decades to negotiate treaties. It takes decades of diplomacy to solve problems. He's mad because they didn't even call within 90 days. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's exhausting every day to see this idiot show.
No, I mean, you are.
Sorry, I ranted.
No. This is so important. And I'm putting up this comment here. By the way, I don't just put up the comments that are funny. I'm just trying to keep
Fred's balls.
We go.
Look at my Stanley Cup.
That's hot. You know what? That's like it's like a muscle car, like for big guys of a certain age. Yeah. It's big ass cup. I want to put up this comment here from General Putnam to our national security is severely compromised.
Been a fan.
One of the things that is going on today is because of a Supreme Court ruling that essentially allows President Trump to go ahead with mass firings across a number of agencies. One of the agencies most affected, where staff are feeling under the gun right now, is the Department of State, where you have deep experts, people who have spent decades learning their field, learning their craft, every day doing the exercise that Professor Allison gave you, reading hundreds of pages, synthesizing, summarizing, and doing the thing that I think is, this is what I aim for in my Substack on Worth Knowing. One of the superpowers that I think working in Congress as a legislative director, as a chief of staff like I did, one of the things it gives you, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but like,
do it. Why not? We're all friends here. It's only a couple thousand people here.
Oh yeah,
just a few thousand people here.
Right, exactly. Just us friends. One of the things that it develops in you is the ability to connect dots between different areas, between different domains of expertise. This is what the kinds of experts we have in the State Department are able to do. They're able to remember history. They're able to remember examples from previous foreign policy problems, issues that they've had to work through. They know the people. They know their counterparts. They know the personalities. This is a deep, it's a strategic asset that the United States sits on for all of the bullshit that comes from the right wing about the deep state. It's the truth is the exact opposite. It's that we have a strategic reserve of expertise, and it comes from, by the way, it's a feature right behind you is the name of your show, On Democracy. This is a feature of democracy. It's a feature of not having a Putin-esque, I talked about Potemkin Village, style autocracy where everyone just intones whatever the dear leader wants to hear. We have open debate. I have on my show policy experts in national security who talk about inside the State Department, inside the Pentagon. What we do is we debate ideas in kind of an open way, and we come up with the best analysis we possibly can. We put it in front of the decision makers. That's what great staff does. And right now, Donald Trump is continuing his quixotic campaign to fire all these people, to get rid of our strongest strategic asset. And so I know I'm on a little bit of a screed here about the strategic value of staff.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to over elevate staff, but the kind of thing that you're talking about here is, it's really important. Look, I'll give you a super duper minor example. When I was a congressional chief of staff, my boss said something stupid in the media. If he were here, I'd say this in front of him. He would cop to it. He'd be like,
"Yeah, he will.
Yeah,
he will.
that's me.
I've done your show.
Yeah, I've done this. Yeah, this has happened before." And I got a call from Rahm Emanuel's right-hand man. And he's a good friend of mine now, but at the time he had taken on all the personality characteristics of Rahm Emanuel. And he calls me, and this is the portion of the show where if you're offended by swear words, just hit mute for the next 10 seconds. He gave me he just leaned into me. He's like, "This is a fucking staff problem, Matt. This is your job. You're supposed to prep him. You're supposed to contain him. You're supposed to make sure that he doesn't do that in the media." And he was right. It's ultimately, it's the people, it's your team. It's the team that you are hiring around you. And so this is the consequence of chaos. This is Trump's inability to manage anything, to have a coherent thought train of his own, to have a strategy that he wants to pursue, to tell smart people around him who are willing to work in his administration because he's not an unhinged lunatic, to tell them, "Here's my vision. You figure out how to make it work." He doesn't have that. And that's why we have an incoherent set of policies. I want to get to, because we teased it in the title, another area where this is playing out right now. I mean, this one is sort of grim, but also a little bit, I don't know, it appeals to, I guess, the prurient interest. You want to talk Pam Bondi for a second?
Oh, God. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's just... I love Steve. I had Steve Hofstetter, the comedian, on my show. So the 2 8 to Cancel show on Sunday, we have a panel of usually comedians and actors, just because we're all so dour. I mean, we just want to laugh. I had Steve Hofstetter on. He had a joke today. He says, of course, Pam Bondi doesn't think there's a client list because in her phone it's just contacts. It's just like
exactly. It's like,
it's a contact list.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
And these
it is
people
just,
participate
again,
in the Signal chat. Yes. So
yeah.
I mean, for people who are kind of catching up to this, I don't know. I mean, let me give I'll give the 10-second Matt GPT synopsis. There has been a years-long campaign from right-wing nuts, right-wing media figures, I guess, including Dan Bongino, the former MAGA podcaster who spent years going after the Epstein list, which I shouldn't air quote that. There's surely a thing. But that's the point. JD Vance was part of the whole Epstein conspiracy crowd. Kush Patel, he used to go on MAGA podcast to rant about the Epstein list. Well, last week, Pam Bondi overpromised and underdelivered. She released a whole bunch of new information that turned out there was no new information at all about the Epstein files, and then promptly announced there's nothing more to see here. We're done. The case is closed. There's no further information back there. And MAGA world is melting now. Now, some of that is probably because there is a huge Venn diagram overlap between MAGA world and QAnon conspiracy world. They may, in fact, be concentric circles. And so, the idea that a conspiracy might not be real must be shocking to them. But I don't know. What do you make of this? Because the knives are out for Pam Bondi right now, and it couldn't happen to a nicer person.
Oh, it's terrible. I hope it works out for her.
Thoughts and prayers, right?
Yeah, best wishes. Yeah, God bless you. I lived in the South long time ago. Bless her heart. I don't know. I wish her the worst. Well, that's the thing. It has been the mantra for years. Bongino made a whole living out of 3 years of saying it's out there. His screeching. I got clips on my computer probably I can show of him screeching about how they're going to get him. They're going to go to jail. His veins popping because he's nuts. The whole thing is crazy. And then they get in. It's like, oh, never mind. I mean, look, the fact is we know who's in there. They know who's in there. Everybody knows who's in there. His own biographer, Wolf, that he's in there. Okay, that he was a friend. He's on the flight log 7 times. There's video of him dancing and joking, looking at women. I mean, give me an effing break. Yeah, of course Epstein was hanging friends. And when they raided his house, there was supposedly 1,700 photos. Were those just him? Okay, so you're trying to tell me that
photos?
1,700 photos. So you're trying to tell me that Epstein just had a lot of selfies. I mean, give me an effing break. There's photos of his friends doing terrible things.
I'm looking at my phone right now. I'm not sure that I have 1,700 photos. I don't know.
I take pictures of my cat.
Yeah, I don't want to make a comparison to my wife and kids because when we're talking about,
but not that many selfies. And the thing is, it's clear, and whoever's in there, look, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, I'm a reality guy. A reality is this guy made a living doing really horrible things, ingratiating himself to very powerful people and sort of inoculating himself from prosecution by the very way he did it, by being close to very famous people. Yes, Bill Clinton's in that list. Yes, Bill Gates is in there. I mean, this isn't. That's why I said this isn't political. There's some really terrible people in there, and the truth will come out someday. But maybe not now. Maybe they're going to finally get rid of it. But the fact is that Trump was his friend, and there's this apocryphal story about how he heard he was hitting on women and kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Bullshit. Okay, I mean, give me a break. Give me a break.
Kicked him out.
So
I am shocked. I will. People who would mistreat their fellow human beings here.
What's that line that movie? I'm shocked to hear there's gambling going on here.
Yeah,
and so it's the whole thing's just a power play. And the problem is, in this case, they went against their own people. And look. Trump kept up the facade of being a populist and a man of the people for the first one because he really thought he'd have to get reelected. The second Trump administration is about that. Trump has always been jealous of the rich people. He's a kid from Queens. He never thought he was treated right. Trump's goal was to be rich and famous, and that he's marketed one thing his entire adult life. It's Donald J. Trump. And so this whole goal, he wanted to hang out he wants the billionaires to like him. So he lines his cabinet with billionaires. He hangs out with billionaires. The VIP row at the inauguration was billionaires. And he doesn't give a shit about the average person. And he thinks MAGA is a bunch of idiots. And he knows, because some of them are, not all of them, some are wonderful people who've just been bamboozled for a long time. And the fact is that he's in there, and they just can't let that. So now they've gone against their own followers, who have made it the ultimate religion of them is that the evil. I mean, the whole thing of QAnon, Flynn, all this is fighting the pedophiles. Everybody's a pedophile. That's the one thing they throw at me every time I'm on the internet. I probably open Twitter right now and be called a pedophile because that's their jam. And now the guy they thought they literally have elevated is the guy fighting the evil pedophiles. His people just said, "No, never mind. There's no pedophiles." And we all know it's bullshit. So it's really a fascinating thing. There's something I tell everybody. I work with Democrats a lot, and I tell them the thing is that you have to remember one really important thing. They hate each other more than they hate us. I mean, now look, they hate us. They do. They hate Democrats. They hate all of us. They hate each other. Okay, MAGA hates MAGA. Reagan Republicans hate Reagan Republicans. It is a free for all. Bannon hates all of them now. They don't actually like the billionaire. I mean, it is just one big free for all and they're going to eat each other alive. And all I can say is, what a damn shame that is, because they're right. So I think he's really underestimating his crowd. And
all right, can I pick up on that point then? So sure. One of the things we teased in the show notes was trying to think a little bit about the end game of all this. We've now talked about Hegseth, we've talked about Bondi, we've talked about the knives out in the MAGA crowd, and that's very real. That's very real. Again, I would never advise anyone to go on Twitter, even if I didn't like them. But if you find yourself there, you should really.
Where else can you drag the vice president of the United States and have him retweet you?
Yeah, and follow Fred while you're there. 384,000 followers on Twitter. So if you find yourself there, grab onto the lifeline of Fred Wellman's X account. But when you were talking about this exercise, we had a comment in here Geez, we're having such great freaking comments here. I think
Going
this
fast,
was
man. We
from
got all the cool
Dr.
people here today.
Cocanium. I
We
think
brought all the cool
so.
people here.
This whole idea basically that, this wasn't like a cover job for Trump is laughable was essentially
Right.
the thrust of this. It reminded me so much. It reminded me so much of Bill Barr and his whole get out ahead of the first impeachment, no obstruction, no collusion report. The 4-page memo concoction he did where he basically said, I've gone through the whole investigation, gone through the whole report. It's fine. We're good. Nothing more to see here. Please.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Don't look at the man behind the curtain, whatever you do. So first of all, if the past is prologue, I'm looking forward to Pam Bondi eventually, like Bill Barr, turning on dear leader, because that's what the ultimate fate of every single person in MAGA world. He stabs them. They turn around and they're like, it turns out I was working for a total evil disaster the whole time. And I've just now realized that there were no warning signs. So I'm looking forward to that from Pam Bondi. That's going to be
I don't know, man. No, I tell you, this crew's different. This crew, I would have that hope, but this crew is really shitty. I mean, it's funny. It's like, Bill Barr, for whatever reasons, may have had the modicum of self-worth. Certainly our friend General Mattis did, and others. They had a modicum of a real world. This crew, when you see the way they talk and worship, like from Lutnick, like Howard Lutnick was a titan of investment banking and all these things, and had all these fake stories about him being so cool after 9/11, which were all fake, as it turns out. He's just a crook. Just worship, Bassett, just throwing away his entire. I just feel like this crew compared to Trump 1.0 is really into it. Really sucked into the actually. I think the people will turn on in the end is people like Hegseth. The people who are just trying to they want to have a life beyond. But it's, I don't know if they will. I don't know if we're going to see revelations. I think we're going to see people fail. Who eventually quit because they can't take it anymore. I mean, look, even by Trump standards, this is the longest serving cabinet he's ever had. I mean, let's be, he started shedding. Hell, he shed Mike Flynn before the damn administration started, right? What, 10 days? I mean, Scaramucci, the Scaramucci lasted such a long time. It's actually a unit of measurement now. For those standards, these assholes, because they're assholes, they've lasted longer because they're just rotten people.
Well, and true. And allow me to add on that.
Please, this is your show. I'm a guest.
No. We are we're co-captaining this ship going somewhere.
More Stanley. Got to stay hydrated.
I think on top of them being awful, they have nowhere else to go. I think there were enough quality people in the first cabinet, in the first Trump administration, like John Kelly. He has a legit military record. He has some integrity to him. Now, I don't agree with all of his decisions, including, holding his fire on Trump, but he was
being a racist thing.
Yeah. Like there are some problems there, but there is some substance to him. What we found is as he turns increasingly to the F team, these are people with literally no other options. They have no other career moves. Pete Hegseth, he has nowhere else to go. Pam Bondi, she was on her way to being like the late night, attorney. It's like, have you been in an accident? Call Pam Bondi. So I mean, I think that's a part of this. So where does it all end?
But look at the rest. I would argue, but look at the rest. You highlight Bondi, obviously Hegseth, Rubio, but the rest, they're billionaires. They're millionaires and billionaires.
They have places to go.
They have places to go. He can go back to his private island that he probably bought 10 years ago. One of his 5 yachts. I mean, the rest of that bunch is pretty rich. What's her name can go back to, being a sugar baby. Noam, who knows? But back to being an Instagram model. I don't know what Noam actually provides to the world. You're right. I think the overwhelming majority, this was the big chance. This is what put them in the big leagues. They'll take the humiliation and they'll believe in it. They'll take another. Thank you, sir. I have another, because they love it. They eat it up. You're right. I mean, they're humiliated. They eat the humiliation. Noam, what is she going to do? Like, I think you are right. So the Gnomes and the Rubios, I mean, this is a guy who was smeared by Trump from the day he stepped into the public eye. And now he's like, you're the best, daddy, hurt me. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I mean, these people are so broken. I mean, the things they say, you're like, are you human? Like, what are you doing? You know, and
Right,
do your
first of
kids
all-
look at this and go, Dad?
Okay, first of all,
Sorry.
congratulations. I have to give you a disclaimer legally, as part of my YouTube contract. I have to give you a disclaimer that what you just said, "Please, Daddy, hurt me," is about to become a meme. I'm going to turn it into a video clip. It's going to be something that I'm going to play over and over again.
Thanks.
Every time
Yeah.
Trump does one of these horrible things to one of the horrible people that used to be his friends or sycophants, I'm going to play the clip of you. "Please, Daddy,
Thanks.
hurt me." Okay, that's
what it is. They're into humiliation or something. It's just the strangest fucking thing. Like, look, I'm not going to kink shame people, but Jesus, what is with these people?
Where masochism meets sadism, right?
I don't know what it is. I don't know how to define what they're doing. It's like, what weird shit are you people into? I mean, it's just
they're giving us a pretty good hint.
No, it's like, fellas, I mean, God, I mean, how do you look your children in the eye at night? Hey, how'd it go to the cabinet meeting today? Well, I really, really got into it today. I mean, why is your face orange, Daddy? Like, I really had to turn it up a notch,
Oh my gosh.
But what do you think of the gold filigree? It's like, it's all fucking crazy to watch unfold. I was joking yesterday on Twitter, like, God, Putin's over there going, damn, guys, turn it down a notch.
All right.
It's just
my new idea. Pitch you something live. I'm going to pitch you something live. You've got several shows going. All right.
I do. I can't focus. I'm a mess.
No, you've got so many things. You were telling me off the air before we went live. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to step on it. You're thinking of launching yet another show. Forget all that. Okay. Forget all that. You, me, we're going to do a midnight version of this show. That's going to be the NSFW version where we talk about the kinks of the MAGA Trump administration. What kinds of shit
they're doing every day for that. Like, what are you into? Like, my God,
that show,
cosplay. Ice Barbie. Like, look at the cosplay. I mean, what is with the costumes? I mean, we're so far beyond weird at this point. I mean, come on. I mean, did you see where she posted on social media, like, which should be my governor portrait? This horse, this horse, this horse. Like, what the fuck is going on with these people? It's like, don't you have jobs? I mean, who has time running a department of the United States, the United government? Now, ICE is what, the fourth largest army in the world, I think, or some shit. And she's got time to play fireman today, and I'm going to go on a raid in Poughkeepsie tomorrow. It's like, do your fucking jobs. Did I tell you?
Did I ever tell you the story that I met the first version of Kristi Noem back when she was called Catherine Harris? Do you remember the Secretary of State in Florida who administered the election in 2000? And
right. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and later was elected to Congress. Well, I was working for a Democratic member of Congress, and at the newly elected member event at Harvard in 2002, I got back together with my old, Harvard peeps, including my mentor there at the Kennedy School. And we're at the new member reception. And who should I get introduced to but Catherine Harris, who was like, for those of you not old enough to remember, she was Kristi Noem before Kristi Noem. Okay.
Yeah.
She had
makeup and everything.
Makeup,
all the makeup.
Dial it down to daytime.
She was the original Republican makeup person.
Yes. And
or the lips. The super red lips. That was her thing, right? It was the big super red lips, right? Oh yeah.
And you know what was creepy about it was I got introduced to her, and you know what she gave me? A bear hug. I still have a crink in my back from the force of the implosion hug that she gave me. What the hell? God. Anyway, that was a total. All right.
Well, they live in an alternate universe, man. I mean, it's an alternate universe where they're loved by everyone, and everything they do is awesome. And that's, again, circling back to the beginning of the show, what's happening in the Secretary of Defense's office. They're all the bros are all high-fiving each other saying, that was awesome, dude. Great video. I love it. And no one's talking the real world.
So what's the end game here? Because, I teased the idea that Pam Bondi is going to pull a Bill Barr and turn on Trump eventually. And I think you gave a pretty good line of reasoning that that's not going to happen. I think the bigger question here is, we keep fooling ourselves as Democrats or as anti-Trump. I welcome all anti-Trump Republicans too. We're all part of the big sanity family here.
We got to start figuring out how to we're going to have to start figuring out how to bring ourselves back together again.
Well, that's the question is we keep fooling ourselves. You know how John Oliver has this ongoing bit where it's like some new thing will drop about Trump and he'll say, we got him, and he'll drop a banner and all that shit. And
Yeah.
we keep fooling ourselves that, okay, now MAGA is finally turning on themselves. Now that, and clearly the knives are out. We weren't just like clickbaiting the title here. Like, this is very, very real. This is being reported on in Politico. This is everywhere. Like, this is really, really happening. But is it going to matter? Is he just going to be able to keep skating along? Are there going to be consequences here? One of the things I teased at the top is that you're seeing this exact effect play out, where there's no organizing brain at the top with a vision that's trying to drive policy with all this immense power that we hand to the president of the United States. And in the absence of that, you see all of these subsidiary agendas from crazy people who he's brought into the administration or in Congress. And we're seeing these people with access to grind being empowered to play out their private policy fantasies. One of the places we just saw this play out was in the bill, the Trump Republican budget. I'm not going to call it his name for it. It's stupid. But we saw it play out in that where Trump kind of got a couple of the top line things that he wanted, but underneath it, all of the details. I just went through this on the live stream yesterday with an old friend of mine from Capitol Hill, Ryan McConaughey, who was the right-hand man for policy to Chuck Schumer for many years, really understands where all the bodies are buried inside a bill like this. And we ran through all the horrible stuff that was talked into this bill. And this is what happens when you let, a bunch of grade F morons into Congress and into the administration and let them have loose with the country's finances. And so, are the chickens going to come home to roost here? Is there going to be a price to pay for all of this? Or is the MAGA pushback that we're seeing now with Hegseth and Bondi going to start to finally turn on Trump? Or is that just another John Oliver style illusion?
Yes and no. So here's how I see it. There's an end game here. Trump is not going to serve in 2020. I know we all want to say the world is falling and there's not going to be more elections, and I share those fears. I'm just not very good at being afraid. I think in the end that the barriers will hold when it comes down to it. We'll see. But let's just say that for some reason the traditional barriers are actually work for once. Supreme Court actually does something that isn't just in their own interest, and Trump leaves in 2020 like he should. He's 79 years old. He's not healthy. There's just no denying that. We can lie about his health all we want, but he's not a healthy 79-year-old. But he may live for a while. I think his mom was 155 years old when she died. At least she looked like it. And so who knows? But there's really there's no one to take the mantle. It's not John Jr. If you've noticed, the kids have sort of disappeared since the new administration, probably because the deal was, look, Elon, Vought, Miller, who all these that came in and take and say, hey, look, we're going to get you your meme coin. You're going to be a billionaire. Just stay the hell out of our way. And by the way, the kids can't play. And so you don't see much from the kids anymore. And so there's JD Vance has negative charisma. Like if it's like he's a black hole charisma, he's one of the most useless human beings on earth. If you can even call him human sometimes, he's just an ephemeral chameleon of nothing.
My kids would say he has negative aura. He has no riz.
Yeah.
Am I using those words correctly? No.
Jesus, just stop now. And so, there's really no one to take the mantle. So in the end, it's going to be a lot of people who think they should be. It's going to be Tom Cotton. It's going to be Josh Hawley. It's going to be, you name them. And there will be a food fight for this. On top of that, you've got Steve Bannon throwing his grenades. Now you've got Elon Musk threatening to start a third party because you know what we need? We need a power just for the billionaires. It is just the end game is coming. What I tell people though, and I give a number of speeches here in Missouri. I'm giving one here on Saturday to a coalition of Democratic groups. And I tell them, look, you just have to look at this. The American Revolution wasn't 1776. That's when it started. It went 8 years, okay? And it was a grind. Anybody who has actually studied, everybody thinks there's these big battles when it was over. It was a grind. And in 1776, we almost lost the whole thing. But yeah, we left, but they left Boston and moved to New York. We moved to New York. They chased out of New York. They moved to Philadelphia. They chased out of Philadelphia. We got a draw at Princeton in the 100-degree heat. If you watch Hamilton, you know about that. And then at the last possible moment of 1776, George Washington crossed the Delaware and took Trenton, There was Wellman there, by the way. My ancestor was there, and it saved.
Really?
It saved. Yeah, yeah. The 13th Continental Regiment, and it saved the Revolution. Okay, and then it went for another 7 years. And so none of this. We're not going to have this heroic victory where we're waving a flag. It's going to be a long grind. We're going to have wins. We're going to have losses. You know, I'm a veteran. I talk about veterans issues a lot. They were gonna get rid of 72,000, 80,000 veteran or VA employees. That was the big plan.
Yes.
They
Yes.
put in some early retirements. They put in early departures. Now they said, you know what? We're not gonna do a RIF. It's just gonna be whoever leaves between now and they're saying 30,000. That's terrible. They should be building bigger, not smaller. But they stopped. We won. That's a win. We raised so much hell. They decide not to fire 15% of the workforce. Is it a perfect victory? No, it's a victory. And so I think we have to get in our mindset that we're going to have wins, we're going to have losses. The big, beautiful bill, whatever you want to call it, the big shit bill is a bit of a loss, but we could turn it into a victory because you know what? When it starts kicking in, look, let's say a family makes $100,000 and as a family, they're going to see about $1,700 to $2,000 in tax savings per year. That's it. With the new student loan rules, you're going to spend $2,000 a year on fees and servicing. So if you're a rather average American who didn't play by the rules, you played by the rules. You graduated high school, you went to college, you took a student loan, you got a graduate degree or graduated, you went to freaking get a job. You just got hammered in the ass. Okay. So yeah, we're going to give you $2,000. We're going to take it away because you had the audacity to take a student loan. So the average American is going to see that this is all horse shit. You know, people are really scared right now that when this kicks in, this tax breaks kick in after the midterm, people are going to go, well, look, my deductions are less. Look, come on, man. I mean, look at the numbers. The numbers just aren't going to be big enough for anybody to go, wow, this is huge. Let's invest this $100. I saved $100. I can buy stock. I mean, it's a fucking lie because you're spending $100 extra on groceries. I bought a few things for our little barbecue on Sunday. It cost me $70. And I don't buy expensive shit. It's Doritos and Lay's and shit. So the average American knows this is all a lie. And there's this movement. That's why you see No King's Day. That's why here in West St. Louis County, we had 7,000 people on the side of a busy road in a very Republican district because they're tired. And if you look at why Mamdani won in New York, because people are sick of it. They're mad. And this is the danger for us as Democrats. They're mad at us too. Okay. You know, the Democrats, I mean, when you've got Clyburn, wonderful human being, you know him, you know, in his 80s now, when he endorses Andrew Cuomo, who was not just rumors of sexual impropriety, was investigated by the Attorney General for sexual improprieties. He calls him, he says, I'm going to endorse him because the mayor of New York could play a key role in the future of the Democratic Party. Andrew Cuomo is 67 years old, okay? Like, if an 82-year-old says the 67-year-old is the future of the party, and you're Gen Z, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? And so if you look at all of that, you know, there's people who are sick of this shit. And you look at Gen Z kids that I'm raising 4 of them, and they're like, what the fuck's in it for us, Fred? What are you guys giving us? So we are at a very critical moment that I believe in our history where the younger generations realize the American dream they were promised is bullshit. Where they're watching billionaires get richer. You see Jeff Bezos in Venice rubbing our faces in his richness. You know, $56 million Instagram fuck you wedding. And a lot of people did see that as a fuck you. And so I believe we're at a crux. So you're going to have MAGA eating itself. You're going to see lie after lie put to the test. There is no Epstein list. Okay, right. They know that's a lie. Everything. Oh, this bill is for us. They know it's a lie. 17 million people are going to lose their health insurance. Oh, no, it's just the lazy people and they need to work. Oh, it's just the illegal immigrants. Nope. Your mom is going to lose her health insurance. And then hospitals are going to fail. And they're going to go, well, I understand. Well, it failed because of Medicaid being cut. All this will come home to roost in time for the 28 election. And so I do believe in my heart that they've spent so much time taking advantage of their people that the truth is going to come. Because the fact is, Americans, yes, they've got a propaganda machine, but when I go to the grocery store and I can't buy shit, it doesn't matter what Fox is telling me anymore, right? And so I really do think, I kind of ranted there, but I really do believe in my heart. I think we're at a very critical moment. The midterms are going to be interesting, and then 28 is going to be interesting. And if we just keep fighting, if we take our little wins and stay in the fight, I think we'll be okay.
It's a great place to end on. And let me just try. I'm going to just try to pull on a couple of the threads that you wove out there as we work our way toward the end here. I think the overarching theme of what you just said is the arc of the moral universe is bending in a good direction here. It is not going to happen on its own. It is going to take a lot of effort. If we're waiting for a magic savior to come, Barack Obama's not walking through that door. Okay.
He's busy.
And that means it's going to be on people like us. And I know that's an exhausting prospect. And right now we are kind of the nadir with this bill having just passed. And with all of these terrible things being done in our foreign policy, in our military policy. But I think you're right. I think the seeds have definitely been sown. And your invocation of the Mamdani victory is spot on, because what he did, aside from the fact that he was positioned against an old relic of the past who is a serial sexual harasser, clearly not an attractive figure at all. In addition to that, what Mamdani did was he focused like a shark with a freaking laser beam on its head on prices.
Affordability.
We are going to give you free public transit. We're going to freeze the rent. We are going to have public grocery stores owned by the city of New York to bring down your food prices. And we have seen in the 2024 election that when it comes to the economy, what really hits people, what they care about is their bills. What they care about is their costs. What they care about is the price.
Empty bank accounts.
That is the thing. And as people's electricity bills go up by an average estimated $400 a year because of this bill, as people don't have, and I want to go back into I'm trying to keep up with this amazing chat that we have going here, and I'm failing. I am full on failing. But, as the price of medicine goes up, I put up here, I'll put it right back up as you were saying this, if you are below the top 50%, your take home is going to be lower. Your income is going to go down. It's going to come because you have less food and less medicine. It's going to come in the form of higher bills, which isn't even captured on this chart. Electricity, food, rent. All of these costs are going to continue to go up, especially because of, and this is another thing coming through in the chats, Donald Trump's insane trade war. And so I guess what I would say to wrap all of this together and wrap all of it up is that I can't prove that this time that the MAGA knives are out for themselves is going to be the time that the entire MAGA world collapses in on itself because of its own vitriol and stupidity. But I do think that it is going to resonate. We have to have some faith that with some work, these very real impacts that it's starting to have on people are going to make a difference politically. We're going to have to work to make sure that they do. All right, let me finish on a little bit of everyone's favorite, a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, I very, very much would like to ask for people to make sure to get more Fred Wellman in your life, including our new show, which is going to happen midnights, where we really take the covers off of MAGA. That's
I got nothing but free time.
Under the covers in oh boy. Okay. So now
Beyonce will love it.
Joking about that, but you can catch On Democracy. You can catch all of Fred's work. If you want to catch more of Fred and of me, these are our Substacks. They're up on the screen. fpwellman.substack.com. And I am worthknowing.substack.com. I don't know about you, Fred, but this is where I'm channeling all of my work. You can access everything through the central hub.
All my shows, all my shows go to Substack. All my writing goes to Substack.
And it's also how I kind of, in all of my writing work and creative work, it's like a big portion of how I, get the financial end of this. So if people want to come on there and
there's that. Love
subscribe
to get paid.
And support,
that'd be awesome.
Yes, are absolutely.
I suck at that. I have no paywall. I'm terrible at begging for money. That's why.
All right, we're going to talk about this when we go off the air. And finally, I want to say that for people who came here and were very kind in the chat to say, "Oh, it's nice to see you, Matt. I'm looking forward to also seeing Cliff." You will get your Cliff back next Wednesday here. My live stream, which is on all the same places, is on Tuesdays. I'm going to go on a family vacation with my kids, with my wife next week. I'm still going to do this live stream on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, because I enjoy it so darn much. I get more out of it then I think I get more than the people who are participating, because I get to see all your chats and learn what people think. And it really is awesome. Like I get a real charge out of it. So, all right, that was the whole close. Thank you very much.
Very exciting.
To Fred Wellman. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat for participating, for being part of this. Bless you. Stay safe, stay well, and we will see you on Tuesday and on Wednesday next week. Be well.